lot of stuff to talk about on this week's episode of Geeks on Trial. First, we're covering some big movie announcements out of Disney's D23 expo. And then our case today has to do with Dungeons and Dragons scheduling issues. We're going to find out if today's defendant is in trouble for canceling a D&D game. Stay tuned. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, looking for group.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. And if you want to help support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. For just $5 a month, you gain early access to both our audio and video episodes, plus twice a month, bi-monthly, every other week, you gain access to Geeks on Trial Sidebar. It's another fun show that me and this guy over here do while we're having fun, spinning wheels, taking robes off, and that's about it.
And that's all you need to know about that. If you think this show is fun, just wait until you see what goes on after dark.
Oh, that's another one. It's a Geeks on Trial After Dark.
Under the cover of darkness, under our blankets with our little flashlights and pillows.
I don't know, my flashlight's pretty big. I got a big flashlight.
Well, it's not the size of the flashlight that counts. It's the intensity of the light.
How many lumens it has.
Mm-hmm. How many lumens it has. You're going to need to get to our Patreon to find out how many lumens our flashlights have. Mm-hmm. But right now we have a totally free show for you, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on an audio device of your choice. We got a fun show today. We got some geeky shit to cover.
What other audio devices can they listen to it? It's phone? Computer,
headphones.
I guess
speakers versus headphones. Those are devices.
Are we on the radio?
What is Google talking to you right now?
Yeah, I triggered something.
What did you say?
My so the Alexa that we have in the bedroom triggers to the word a PC, but the C word for that. It's like a Star Trek thing.
I see. It responds to the C word.
Yeah,
you really should have trained it to do that. That is kind of upsetting.
It's fun. It's good times.
That feels like it must come up all the time because that's a word that I would think you would use all the time.
There's some fights you just don't want to deal with.
You just don't want to start those. Yeah, you don't want to get into
those words. You know who likes using the C word? Disney.
Oh, yeah, Disney really loves it. Really loves it quite a lot. We're going to talk today about D23, which is Disney's big annual expo, their convention that they hold where they have their big announcements for this year, really for a few years into the future, about both their movies as well as their theme parks and Disney Plus, stuff like that. And now Disney owns a lot of things.
Most things, I would say. Disney owns
most things.
Most things that are entertainment. They own most. Do they own any radio stations? They used to have Disney.
Radio Disney.
Radio Disney. Does that still exist?
No, I don't think they do that anymore. But they own most other things still. Right. So there's a lot of potential big announcements. Some of the ones that maybe you might have heard of out there. They talked about Incredibles 3 is happening. Toy Story 5. They talk about Frozen 3. We got a subtitle for the next Avatar movie. There are a bunch of announcements for the Disney theme parks. We're not going to go over each one in detail, but I'll ask you first, Ivan. Of the announcements, what, if anything, are you particularly interested in? What's something that you think will be fun or you're looking forward to that they talked about?
I made a list of a few things that I'm upset about and that I enjoy. So I'll go with the happier part.
We're going to start with the positives.
The movie, what is it? Hoopers.
Hoppers.
Looks, hey, it could be a basketball movie. We don't know. It could be.
Sure.
I looked. Honestly, it looks super cute. I'm actually excited. Like, for one of the big name Pixar movies this year. I haven't been in the past few years.
Go ahead. Well, I enjoy the summary. I
enjoy the guy who's making it.
Each other for a while. Yeah, go ahead.
Because he also makes the show We Bare Bears, which is one of
I've never watched that show. That's a good show.
It's a fun show. We watch it like if we go to like a hotel or something and Cartoon Network is on. Like it's rare that we watch cable, but it's one of those shows that it's a cute show. It's a Cartoon Network original show, and the guy's name is Daniel Chong, and he's doing both. He created We Bare Bears, and he's helping or directing, or it's coming
I
from
think he's directing it.
this
Yeah.
movie. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a new Pixar movie they announced where the plot has something to do with I believe it's a girl who swaps her brain with a beaver's brain.
Yeah.
So she becomes a beaver and learns about the world of
Yeah.
beavers.
It looks cute.
Sure. Heck,
I
why
love
not?
those kind of like silly, stupid Pixar movies. Like it's cute. It's fun. It's
I mean, most Pixar movies, if you just say the premise of them, they sound ridiculous if you haven't seen the movie.
right. Most
So yeah, I don't know about We Bare Bears, but I've heard good things. So yeah, hopefully that's fun.
yeah. Avatar 3, of course, super excited about it. But I'm wondering, I was going to ask you, because we had quite a bit of time between Avatar and Avatar 2. Do you think it's going to get as much hype? Yes, it's a big name. These have been hyped for years. Do you think it will get as much hype from 1 to 2 as 2 to 3 will? Because it was, what,
Yeah.
like 10 years? I mean, not 10 years, but...
It's so funny because the conversation before Avatar 2 was, do you think anyone will care about Avatar 2 because it's been so long?
Right.
And now you're saying, are you sure? I don't think it's been long enough. So there's no matter what, the people they're screwed.
Yeah.
No, it's going to make $2 billion. There's anyone who has ever doubted James Cameron, you've been proven
Right.
wrong a million times over. No reason to think this isn't going to be a giant smash hit. Fire
I'm
and
excited
Ash,
for it.
by the way, is the subtitle.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
for me, I didn't wait the 10 years between the two movies because I just didn't see the first one when it came out in theaters.
Yeah.
So I waited for the re-release because I'm like, oh, I missed it in theaters. I need to see this in a movie theater because why not? And then you showed up at my house and just dragged me to the first one, which I'm happy you did. And then, second one was great. I'm just, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting.
I'm excited.
It'll be enjoyable. I'll be
That's still,
super duper excited about that.
A year. I mean, most of these movies are
Yeah.
a year, 2 years, 3 years out that they announced. Yeah, I think for me, Avatar, I mean, it's just a subtitle. They did show some concept art too, but that's the thing that I'm most excited about.
Right.
The other big one for me was Incredibles 3 is being helmed by Brad Bird, who did the first two.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people weren't as hot on Incredibles 2. I actually thought it was great. And I love the first one. I'm anything Brad Bird does, I'm excited to see. I'm surprised they announced this, even though the second movie did extremely well financially. Brad Bird isn't always a guy who's wants to do sequels.
Okay.
So that to me says this. Hopefully this is a good.
But I
there's
also
something
feel
good
like
going on there.
when Disney's like, here, have this paycheck for this movie that did really well, you kind of have to accept it. Like,
Yeah, but I don't think Brad Bird is doing that. I get the sense he has more integrity than that. I don't think he would sign on to do. Now, some people would argue that Incredibles 2 already wasn't that great and that he already compromised his integrity. But from where I'm sitting, I think that I'm very happy that he's at the helm of it again. I would not want to see an Incredibles that he wasn't a part of.
well, that's the reason probably why he hopped on, because they were probably going to make it with or without him because they own it.
It's possible.
So
It's possible.
You know, he might as well be in charge of it and have final say over most of it than let somebody, you know, who wasn't attached to the movie or somebody random to the movie bastardize it.
It's possible. I mean, I don't know that they would necessarily do that.
Right,
I could
but-
see them not doing it, but
But I'm also like, when I
you could
see
speculate, yeah.
a sequel, trilogy, so on, I prefer when it's the original person who did the original story
Of course.
making it, because it's always like, you can always tell there's a little magic that's missing from whatever
But, you
the
know,
next person is.
there's plenty of examples where that's the opposite is the case, but it's like, you know, it depends on the movies. But yes, generally speaking, it's always nice to see someone new coming. I'm also pretty excited about the announcement that the next Tron movie is happening and that the last movie we got Daft Punk. This time it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross of Nine Inch Nails. And so if you can't follow up with Daft Punk,
Right.
the movie might not be that good. I mean, the last Tron movie wasn't that good, but the soundtrack is great.
Now,
So
it
I'm
seems
just excited
interesting
for that
because
soundtrack.
it is a very technical geeky movie. So it's like, Daft Punk made sense because they're like not EDM, but they're like, a more of a techno
electronic
thing,
techno. Yeah,
where
yeah,
this
yeah.
seems like a little bit off course, in my
I
opinion.
mean, I think if you've listened to Trent Reznor's scores for a lot of movies in the last several years, he plays with a lot of the electronic sound. The Social Network,
Okay,
probably you
right.
remember. I mean, his scores are incredible. Anytime I see their names in the opening credits of a movie, I'm excited. So yeah, I think that's going to be killer.
Now they also announced, what is it, Frozen 3?
Technically, they didn't. We already knew Frozen 3 was
Okay.
coming, but they did show off more about it, and they did announce Frozen 4 probably.
Okay. Did you ever see any of the Frozen?
The first one, I've seen the first Frozen.
I never,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I just never hopped on that bandwagon, and I'm kind of happy I haven't.
The
It seems
first
like a
one-
fun holiday-ish,
Yeah.
wintry movie, but I just never.
Sure, it's not like a Christmas movie, but it does have
No, but-
snow.
Neither is Harry Potter, and they always have it on,
No,
like,
Christmas is in those movies, though. They do have Christmas in those movies.
all right.
Um,
Now, is there
but
anything
yeah.
that you saw and were like, oh boy, why is this?
I mean,
being done?
most of the things I already knew about, or at least
Okay.
kind of like. I'm not excited about Toy Story 5, although it is from director Andrew Stanton. He did Finding Nemo and WALL-E. He's done some of my favorite Pixar movies. So
Now, that was on my
that's
list
great.
as well, because like in my brain, I didn't even see the last one. Like it ended so well at 3, and it was such a good closure to those 3 movies that you're messing with magic at this point, in my opinion. And
But
especially
yeah.
Toy Story is like up there for like my favorite of those movies.
Sure. Yeah, I think all my annoyance at them continuing already happened with 4.
Right.
so I'm just like, now 5, I'm not like annoyed again. I'm just like, I'll see what you do, I guess. I'm
Right.
just kind of like, whatever, let's just, bring it on at this point. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. I'm actually, Zootopia too. We also knew about, but I love Zootopia. So I'm really excited. I've been waiting for that sequel. It's been years since that movie came
Has
out.
it?
I thought that would be coming out a lot sooner.
Now, what do you think about the live action movies that they announced? The Snow White live action, and there's another one.
They showed off the first, the look at Stitch and Lilo and Stitch.
That one.
There's
I'm-
also the new Mufasa movie, of course.
I'm never a fan of the live action remakes of an already animated property. They never do it justice. It's always just kind of like a money grab, in my opinion. Could they prove me wrong with the other 2 that aren't Snow White? Maybe. But like it's a cartoon that you're trying to live actionify, which most of it's still animated anyway. But, I've been burned too many times by the live action remakes, I guess they are, of Disney films. I think Disney's good at one thing. Disney as a whole, they are good at animation. I'm never a huge fan of their live things, ignoring Marvel and the other properties they've purchased. I'm just saying Disney as
You don't like
general.
the Apple Dumpling Gang or Witch Mountain, Escape from Witch Mountain?
Not really.
That's too bad. I haven't seen most of these live action remakes. I usually skip them because they just look terrible. So
Right.
I have no.
It's the same reason. Yeah.
I mean, Stitch, I thought looks, it's okay. Could be
Right.
better, could be worse. I don't, they're just, I don't know. It's just not something that I'm particularly looking forward to. I love the original Lilo and Stitch.
Right. It's just something that's not on your radar because you've been.
I don't plan. Yeah, if they surprise me and I hear great reviews or something, I might be curious to see it.
Right.
But so far, I mean, I didn't watch Mulan, I didn't watch Lion King, I didn't watch Aladdin. They've never looked good. So I'm with you on that. Was there another one the Mufasa one? On Snow White. Yeah, it looks bad. I watched the trailer for Snow White. It looks bad. It looks really bad.
And then another thing that kind of like piqued my interest of like, oh boy, was the Freaky Friday sequel.
Yeah, right.
I didn't-
With Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis returning.
Didn't dive deep into it. I just saw, a little bit of the write up and the few images they had, and
The title,
oh boy, oh boy.
Freakier
Yeah,
Friday.
no, I get it. I kind of like this. Seems like Freaky Friday 2, Freakier Friday Seems like it's like something they would have done on like Jimmy Kimmel. Like this would be a skit that they would do and like have them come out, and I don't know. It just
Well, Lindsay Lohan's back now. Her career is on the uprise again, so that's why they're doing this
It is,
now.
and I get it,
so is
but,
Jamie
like-
Lee Curtis's,
Right.
for that matter. I never even saw the original Freaky Friday. I have no nostalgia for this. I don't care.
I think I did, but like on Disney Channel. Like it wasn't anything like it was on. We had Disney Channel. I'm like, oh, let me watch this. It's cute, but
Now, the OG Freaky Friday, I also never saw, so.
what is it? What is the OG one?
It's like from the 70s. It's
Okay,
like
that's
an
what
old-
it's old. Yeah, was it Disney at that point?
I think, unless I'm making that up, unless I'm just mixing it up with The Parent Trap or something, I think there's an old Freaky Friday. Maybe not. Maybe I'm
Huh.
wrong. I don't know. I'm
Oh.
not going to look it up.
No, we don't have a fact checker. Anything else? So you mentioned theme parks.
Yeah,
Is there
yeah, yeah.
anything major in the theme park world that they mentioned
There's
over at
there's
the
a lot
Disney?
of big stuff in the theme parks. I won't go too deep into it because we want to
Yeah.
get to the meat of the show, but there's a Villains Land coming to Magic Kingdom. There's new an Indiana Jones and an Encanto ride coming to Animal Kingdom. There's Cars stuff. There's a lot of big things. Most of them are at least 2 years out. So
Because it takes a while to get those into play. And now, are they removing anything, or are they just adding?
some of these
to...
are replacements.
Okay.
Yes. Like Indiana Jones, we're replacing the dinosaur ride, for instance. Which I am a big fan of.
Now, what is your opinion on? Because you're a big fan of the Disney theme parks or theme
me.
park. I don't know if you ever went to the one in California. Or
I've
not.
been to at least 2 of them.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, you're right. Now, what is your opinion on them incorporating the other IPs that they own that aren't technically Disney into these theme parks? So I know
Are
you
they
like
doing that? Yeah.
You like
I
Star
mean,
Wars.
Oh yeah, sure. That's
But
one.
are they doing more Marvel stuff? Are they doing some of the other things that they own? Fox properties, Indiana Jones, for example.
True. Well, Indiana Jones has had a presence at the park for many years. There's
Okay.
been an Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland, and there's an Indiana Jones show at Disney World.
Okay.
That's for like decades. So that's not anything new. And even Star Wars, Star Tours was a ride in Disney World and
From
Disneyland
back in the day.
for 20 years.
Now,
So
okay.
yeah. So even before they owned it, they had those relationships. Marvel stuff is only in California right now. They can't do it in Florida. It's a rights thing with Universal and the theme parks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that of course Avatar is is there. There have new Avatar stuff is coming to Disneyland as well. I mean, I love those properties. So as long as I love the properties, I'm all for it.
Right. Because I was thinking maybe they should have a separate section, like like an acquisitions section. Like these are what we acquired. This is what.
They kind of are sectioned off. Like Pandora is its own. It's
Right.
in Animal Kingdom, but it's you go to
Star
Pandora.
Wars, it's a separate-
not. I mean, again, Star Tours was just next to some Disney crap for many years, so it's pretty. It's not actually anything new for them to do that, but yeah, it's
Because I could see them opening up like a MCU theme park or section or separate thing, because there is so much that they could do with all of that Marvel Cinematic Universe rides and stuff.
Yeah, they have Avengers Campus at Disneyland.
Okay.
Which is where some of that stuff is right now, but yeah,
Did
they're
they,
adding more to it.
Announce any video games or anything? Like I went through quick and not really.
I don't
right?
think because Disney doesn't. They're not the ones making the video games.
They just license
them
out to other people, right? So that wouldn't be something they would announce. It'd be something that another company would announce. Okay.
Yeah. There are also some Star Wars stuff. The Mandalorian and Grogu movie
Right.
coming. Sure.
But I feel like that's it's going to be a thing every year. There's going to be, here's our Star Wars thing. It's kind of a matter
well,
of fact.
it's been. It will be the first Star Wars movie to come out in several years since Episode 9.
Okay.
So it's something. We had plenty of TV shows during that time,
Sure.
but no actual movies. Anyway, those are the big ones for me. I'm excited about Avatar and Incredibles. Those are my top 2.
I think it's time for us to roll a D23 and see where this adventure
Wow, that's
goes.
really good. That's really good. Roll a D23. That's
roll
pretty
a
good.
D23.
Because I was going to say go from D23 to D and D.
Okay, that's also good.
No,
Be
I think
hard.
yours is better though.
It'd be okay. Yeah, it is. You're right. I'm.
Do they make a D23 is the
It
question.
would be difficult, right? It would be hard to roll a D23.
I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to roll.
It would be
I don't know.
uneven, right?
Well, not necessarily. You could, because they make D7. You can get any
A weird
number
okay.
of sides. They make weird ones.
Why do they call it? Do we know why it's D23 for Disney?
No, I don't know.
Okay, because like
It's not like the year. I don't know where
yeah,
23 comes from.
Yeah, but yeah, let's
don't
roll
know.
our D23 and get into today's case, shall we?
Great. Yeah, we have a case for today all about Dungeons and Dragons. It comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Drew. Drew is in a Dungeons and Dragons playgroup with his boyfriend and another couple. Unfortunately, as many D&D players know, scheduling is often the hardest part of the whole affair, and this other couple is particularly bad at it. Over the past few years, they have frequently come in with last-minute cancellations and failed to respond to scheduling requests in a timely fashion. Recently, things came to a head when Drew specifically asked them to tell him whether or not they could attend a game night after they were attending a doctor's visit that same day. They simply didn't mention the game night at all and didn't show up. And this really made Drew feel like maybe it's time to call it quits. He's considering canceling these sessions altogether at the end of the current campaign and telling them that their lack of communication is insulting, and he doesn't want to go forward with any tabletop RPGs in the future, even knowing that this could end their long-term friendship for good. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Drew deserves an inspiration point for taking the initiative and canceling the game, or if he just rolled a critical fail on his charisma check. That's our decision that we have to make.
It's good. So, it's been 4 years, right? They've been playing this campaign on and off for 4 years.
That may have been the number that he said.
I think it was 4 years.
I'll take your word for it.
We'll just say 4 to 5
4
years.
more years. It's been one Biden presidency.
It's been one. Oh boy.
since they began.
Oh boy. You think
And
Biden
they're
plays
like,
D&D?
if we don't play again by the time Biden's out of office, it's over. No, I don't think Biden plays D&D.
Never in his life. No, maybe not
No.
now. He's not. He can't.
I don't think he ever did. No.
I think Trump might be a
he
good DM. I think Trump would be a really good DM. That
No.
would be a fun.
I don't think he would. I don't think there's any politicians in office over the age of 50 who have ever taken part in a D&D game.
I guess being a president is just being the original DM. Like you're just controlling maps and worlds and
That's
and
true.
things.
Yeah.
Like there's actually a D20 in their desk
Yeah.
that they roll before they
Right.
make any decision.
It's so true. It's so true. Being the president is kind of like being the original DM.
Yeah,
That's really
the
what
OG
the presidency
it
is. The original
Just
DM.
the
is
original
being the
DM.
president. Yeah.
No one else can ever be the original
That's
DM.
so true. Profound.
I'm gonna punch you in the face.
No, I think I really like that. I just love that.
So we've had D&D campaigns before. We've had a few. We've had
We've had two.
Two?
Right? Two. I want to say two.
I could be thinking we've also like done one-off things.
Well,
I could
have we had... We might have just had... Yeah, we played a couple other RPGs here and there.
Well, we did. Yeah, we did two separate D&D campaigns. We did one that
Were
we
they
did for.
distinct?
We did one we did for a past show.
I think we just continued that offline, though, to be honest. Or, like, I think maybe we did the original 5e starter set with... But I think even that might have... Yeah, I don't remember.
But didn't
if
we
you actually...
create new characters and stuff the second time
Maybe.
we played?
That's why I can't remember. I think maybe you did do a reboot at one point. So
I
maybe
chose-
technically two.
I just chose the same name for my character, I think.
That might be what confuses me, is that I'm like, weren't you the same guy?
But I'm
You're kinda
pretty
the same guy,
sure
you always are.
because when we first started our first campaign, like Danny wasn't around.
No,
And
he was.
Really?
100%. There's video evidence I
Oh,
can
boy.
show you that he is. Yes.
It's been a long time. It's been a very, very long time.
Yes. 100%. I
So,
remember
let's just say-
the whole gang was there.
For video purposes, we had two campaigns roughly, or
Sure.
1.5, whatever.
I think we should discuss it for 20 more
Okay.
minutes.
So
This is what people really want. Two old men trying to remember.
did we play D&D?
Did I buy peaches?
Actually, I did buy some peaches this weekend.
You did buy some peaches this week? How many?
8. We went to a farmer's market.
Not millions of peaches?
No, we bought peaches. Okay, that's 6.
How many is that? Six
That's 6,
peaches?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So we bought
good.
6
That's
peaches.
good.
Yeah.
So D&D, yes, and the scheduling, it's not easy.
No.
This is what everybody says. Everybody always says, what's the hardest part of playing a D&D game is actually getting your group together to play it. Even more so when you're older.
People have lives.
The ages of the people in question, they're in their early 30s, so right around our age.
Yeah.
30s to 34. So yeah, it's tough. It can be tough. Even when we first started, we were in our 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was easier then, but it was still you still had to schedule it. You had to make the time. You had to say, this is the day. But I remember we used to say, we'd have game nights on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at least a few times, I think, we would say, come over at like noon, and we'd do like 4 hours of D&D and then have a game night of board games.
Yeah.
Which now, after 4 hours of D&D, I'd be like, I'm going to bed. Get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, 100%.
What are you, crazy?
But then, so we did a lot of playing during the pandemic. We used a website called
Online,
Roll20, which, was it Roll20?
Roll20, which now is integrated into Discord now.
Is it really?
You can just start it up and it's in there. You don't have to navigate away to the website, which is pretty cool.
Which, playing online is a very big option, and in a lot of ways you can either play with people who don't live with you or live within driving distance, meet other players to play internationally or whatever. And I do think playing online saved our group quite a bit, because it was easier for all of us to just like, okay, let me eat dinner, and then we'll pop on for a couple hours and play. And it's just easier than, okay, we all have to meet here. Some of us live further, some of us live closer, etc. But it does take some of the charm away from playing in real life, because in real life, playing in a group at a table, the DM can actually like visibly watch over people, see what's going on. There's less distractions when you're playing at a table, because someone can call you out on your distraction, instead of like online. We've all been guilty of like, oh yeah, it's not my turn. Let me go on the internet and just scroll some web pages. Yeah,
I mean, I haven't been guilty of that because it's always my turn.
Well, right, yeah, DM does not.
But yeah, I have several thoughts on that. That was also, as you said, during the peak of the pandemic, when we did most of that. So in a lot of ways, most people were at home more than they usually were, and also simultaneously starved for human interaction.
Right, we were bored out of our minds, and we couldn't do our typical Saturday evening game nights because death would occur, and it's if we try not to.
That whole death thing,
Yeah.
Pre-vaccines and all that stuff. A time we've all forgotten now. It's many years ago.
Roll for vaccine.
In some ways, so that also was a factor in making it easier to get together. In some ways, I think it is easier for the obvious reasons you stated. You don't have to drive and go somewhere.
Right.
But I think also sometimes it can even make it easier for people to cancel or not feel like they want to do it, because the fact that it's online makes it feel like, oh, that's just a thing. I sit down at my computer. It's not really a real commitment. It's just me over there, and maybe I just want to watch TV and not go to my computer. Which
honestly,
seems like it should be easier, but I think there's something about meeting up in person that it's like, that's on my calendar. I have to go there. I have to mentally prepare to go there.
Now let me tell you a little bit something about me. If I have to do like, I work from home, I do all my video editing and stuff here. If I don't have to get up, get clothing, shower, and go out somewhere, I procrastinate as much as I can, because I'm like, oh, it's at home. I can just, do it whenever, because I don't have to go anywhere or do whatever. So playing D&D online, that 100% tracks, because like I don't want to get up and like do anything. I'm online anyway. So where it's like, you're right, getting your shoes on, getting dressed, going to your car. It's like, okay, this is my event for the day. I'm going out. Because I'll even do, like, if I have a bunch of videos to edit or whatever, I'll go to our local library just because I'm getting up, I'm going somewhere to do work. And that's,
Yeah.
it's easier for me to do that, which, that's why, like, I like in-person things like that. It's easier.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's both easier and harder. I think both things are true.
Right.
Like, it also, of course, it depends on how far away do people live. Do you have kids? What other responsibilities do you have? How do you, even online? It's the challenge is how can you all agree on a day of the week? And do you set it for a specific day of the week, or do you change it every week depending on everyone's availability?
And you
I think
also
we
have
found-
to. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was
Well,
it, Thursdays or something? Like, it was like Thursday nights we
think
played.
keeping it to one day was always the best option, because otherwise you could end up with you can loop around of this day, endlessly.
Yeah. And that's like, there's always going to be something that somebody has some night of the week that's not going to work. So if you set it for the same night every week, every other week, you're going to be like, this is my D&D night. Don't schedule anything for this. And that's how that works well.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember how we were with cancellations, because we certainly, we didn't play every single week.
No.
There were certainly nights when we canceled.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could look through our chat logs, but I know that I canceled, I'm sure, at least once or twice.
Yeah.
Sometimes might have been that I just said, like, honestly, as the DM, I mean, I get great anxiety from when we play D&D, because it's like giving not every time, but there were definitely nights when it's like, I feel like I'm giving an oral presentation in high school. That's like,
you're going on air. You're starting your thing, like, it's
because I don't know what are you guys gonna do that I'm not gonna be prepared for, and I'm gonna screw something up, and I'm scared, or it's not gonna be fun, or whatever. And there were definitely nights when it would be canceled, or someone would say I can't show up, and I'd breathe a sigh of relief, like, whew, it's a good thing I didn't. That's like when the teacher comes in and says, "Oh, we didn't have time for the test today. Oh, good, I didn't study.
Right.
Thank God."
Yeah.
That happened to me a lot. I don't remember. I think when it's a weekly occurrence, I think it feels like it's more allowable to last minute, like night before, even day of, say, something just came up, I can't do it.
Now, that's something I was going to say,
wrong,
too,
though.
because, like, so we have weekly game nights, but we change things out quite often for a game night, and game nights offer more change and keeps things more spicy, because, like, it's not the same thing. I feel like
spicy.
Well, because I feel like doing a D&D campaign every week, the same sure, your campaign changes, but it's the same campaign, the same people, the same every week. Like, that can get boring.
You get sick of those people, is what you're saying?
Not even the people, no, but like the thing for 4 years. Like, after 4 years, I'm like, okay, there is an ending point, and it sounds like this group is probably naturally coming to its ending point, in my opinion, because, like,
interesting.
I'm the kind of person who needs, like, I'm not the kind of person who can, like, play one video game all the time. Like, even if it's like an online, like a World of Warcraft. Or
We've had this talk, yeah.
Right. I need, like, different changes to come up. And I think it's just, like, natural of a lot of people that you need to have variety in your life.
You can get stuck in a rut.
And especially, like, if it was every week, that could be a little much for me. But, like, I think we were doing it, like, every other week. And, like, I don't think...
Yeah. We definitely had some weeks in a row.
Yeah,
we tried to do it every week.
But, just stuff comes up, and it's like, okay, change things out. Or just like, I need a breather from this for a little bit.
I do think that a lot of D&D players are not like that. That they
not at all.
Are happy to live and breathe that game every single week.
And it's like the same thing, too, with like Magic players, Pokemon players. Like, there's certain games where it's like, this is my thing. I spend like, my hobby is this one thing, where that's not, like, me.
But it is a little, I feel like D&D is a little different because, I mean, you could argue this about other things too, but, if you're playing World of Warcraft, it's typically, like, unless a big expansion comes out, you're kind of doing the same stuff mostly. I mean, D&D, I guess you could argue too, but because it's all made up, like, one week you could be underground, one week could be like a puzzle solving, one could be all about combat. There are a lot of different, it could go a lot of different places depending on your DM and your group and what you want to do.
But you're still playing the same character. Like, I would still be Lord Featherbottom for 4
years. You could always retire a character. You could always have him die or something, or just create a new one. You could get bored and just say, I want to do a new guy. Always an
And
option. Or you
like,
could do a side campaign or something.
it might sound like I don't like I truly love playing D&D and getting into the role playing and the yes and aspect of it. Stop it now. And the yes and
I just
aspect of it
nodded.
now, which is a super fun because like I like things being made up on the fly. I'm not a rules follower. I'm a let's make this up and go kind of,
You're a rebel, a loner.
yep, without a cause.
Yes, I've lost my train of thought. What was the other thing I was going to say about D&D players besides being wanting
Nerds.
to do it every week? Oh, another thing about doing it every week that I think is good. If you take too long a break, you might just forget what the hell you were doing.
Right.
I mean, many of our D&D sessions were just
Recap.
starting with 15 minutes of, so what happened last time? I don't know. Who is this character
Right.
again? What were we trying to do? So that is a benefit to doing it. Now, they're only playing with 4 people. That's a
What was
pretty
our-
manageable group. We
what was
had
our group?
5.
6? 5 or 6? Okay.
Yeah, five or 6. I think we had both. Most of it was 5, 4 players plus the DM.
Right.
Which is, for me, that's the most I would ever really want to do.
Well, I feel like that's like the
manageable.
max manageable thing because I've seen like things where it's like it is a giant group and I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I like I was saying, I feel like maybe a weekly occurrence is more cancelable, allowing
Yeah.
words that make sense in that order.
Jargon.
Because if it's like once a month, then that's your once a month, and if you miss it, then you don't get to play for a
have to
whole
wait
other
another-
month,
yeah.
and that sucks. Whereas if it's every week, then you have a little more license, or at least it probably feels that way, to be like, we'll just do next week. What's the big deal? We miss one week. There's another one coming up very soon.
Now, what is your opinion on? Okay, we're a group of 5. One person can't make it this week. Do we all cancel, or do we continue without that person?
Yeah, different groups like different things. I am not a fan of that. We never did that. I always wanted to have everyone there. Maybe different if your group is bigger.
Right.
But I just never really, as a DM, like I'm telling a story and I want everyone to be involved in the story, and I don't want to have to catch everyone up the next week. But
Right.
if you will play more D&D games that way if you don't. If you
I
get
do
through it.
think I do 100% agree with you because like you in your head are creating the story based on these 5 people that are in front of you every time we play. So yeah, it would be weird. It's like, or you like, oh, I forgot that your character existed. I have to pop you back in. I
Or
know
someone else controls you for that week or something. Yeah. But I mean, if you are playing it every single week for years, then maybe you do get to a point where it's kind of like, I can miss one, but if everyone else is always there and everybody loves it, then maybe you don't want to be the guy who makes them
kills
have
it
to
for
cancel.
the week. Right.
That's a possibility. But usually if one person said they were going to cancel, everyone else was just like, okay, I'll do something else. It's not a
Right.
big deal.
Well, because it's also too like, yes, we're playing D&D, but it's also like a social thing. So it's like we all want to
Sure.
we're all playing together because we enjoy each other's company for the most part, and we all want to be together. So that's where I think it's kind of weird that this group is kind of like not forging together anymore. And I know especially when you introduce children and stuff like that, life comes up and it's harder to do these things. But are you just taking priority over certain things? And like you do have to, as a parent, leave and have you time occasionally to go out and have fun. Everything can't be like your child isn't your personality. You have to be able to go do something. So it sounds like either this D&D group, like 4 years is a lot to me. It seems like, it might have hit its mark for this thing. Maybe, in my opinion, spice it up a bit. We don't know what kind of DM this guy is. Person is.
Right. You say 4 years is a lot, but I don't know how consistently they've been playing in those 4 years.
True.
They might have been every other month because of how wishy-washy these players are. They also, for this case, it's not an option for them to continue without the group if they wanted to, because if 2 out of 3 players are missing, you're not
Yeah.
He's not just going to sit there with his boyfriend and you could. I mean, some people might do that, but it's not exactly fun. It doesn't usually, it's not really worth it at that point.
That's another issue too, where it's like you have couples in it.
Right.
Usually when one leaves.
If one person's out, they're both out.
Right.
Often. In this case, it sounds like they don't have kids already, but that the wife of this other couple is pregnant.
Right.
Is going to have a kid. That was that was like the final straw, was a point where she was supposed to go to the doctor for some kind of pregnancy checkup. She wasn't like giving birth actively or anything.
Right. That'd be an exciting D&D campaign though.
Right.
Roll for birth. Oh.
That would be agility check, I guess.
Animal handling.
And then athletics. Like the animal handling is pretty good. Drew was like, "Hey, so just let me know." And then was like, "How did the appointment go?" And they were like, "It was good." And then they just didn't mention.
That's a whole different.
It kind of seems like maybe that's, if they're not bringing it up, maybe they're not bad at scheduling. Maybe they just don't want to play and they're too polite to say that. I don't know how you, that can be a blurry line. I don't know how you make that assessment accurately 100%.
Because you're right. It does seem like it's like, if you told me, that's the main thing that upsets me about this entire thing. Like, usually we were like, hey, unless something like came up hours beforehand, we would be like, hey, we're not doing it this week. Like, we would have a day that we're like telling you we're not doing whatever. But like we're going to the doctors, we'll let you know in a few hours, means we're most likely going to play. It might just move the timeline a little bit. But like,
right.
I mean, I'm not a pregnant person or ever dealt with anybody pregnant. So like,
There's still time.
Doctor's appointments aren't ongoing. Like a doctor's appointment isn't like, there's a start time and usually some kind of end time for like, you're not at a doctor's appointment
forever. No,
for like 8 hours. Like,
right. I mean, I wonder if they ever, it doesn't sound like they ever floated the idea of doing online sessions,
right?
Which maybe could help. But what do you think about Drew's reaction, where he wants to send them a formal letter? He actually in the case file writes up what he wants to say, which is, I'll just read it. "I understand life gets messy and there's a lot of stress these days, but the lack of communication you're providing is downright insulting at this point. So our campaign is over. I am not going to keep putting the effort into running a D&D game for you guys when you won't even tell us whether we'll play without me dragging answers out of you. We can maybe do regular board game nights if your schedules permit, but I will not be playing a TTRPG with you guys again."
That is something
a little aggressive. It's a little aggressive.
I understand some of it, but I'm also not like the kind of person who's like, I'm going to post I understand like trying to get answers out of people and like wanting to have I'm a calendar guy. If it's in my calendar, I'm doing it. If it's a last minute thing, I'm probably not super excited about it. And if I'm trying to plan my calendar, I'm going to want a yes or no answer. I'm going to want to be like, hey, are we doing this on Saturday? Yes or no? Let me know as soon as possible, because like I could fill that time up with something else. I could plan something more not important, but more, exciting than just sitting at home. Right. It sounds like this friend group, the only reason why they're friends at this point is to play D&D. Because for him to write this letter that is so stern, it just seems like, oh, if you guys don't let us know about these appointments, then we're done. And like, it's kind of like, it's weird because like, were they a friend group before this that happened to play D&D? Or were they a D&D group that became friends and the only thing linking them together is RPGs?
Well, according to the case file, Drew says they have known each other since college, and he says they were also groomsmen at their wedding.
Right.
So it's pretty close friends, but it sounds like in the past few years, they haven't been able to get together as much, and it's the D&D cancellations have, he even says he feels like if they cancel this, there's a good chance that this friendship is there's just nothing left holding it up at this point.
Which is kind of sad and kind of like a grand thing you have to look at. Like, if you guys have been friends since college and you've been in each other's lives that long, and the only thing holding you together is this friend group, then it might, I mean, this D&D group, and you're not doing anything else outside of that, like going to movies, going to dinners, going to family gathering. I don't know what kind of,
Orgies, swinging.
orgies, swinger parties, all those.
Yep.
Then it's kind of like, no, this group
Nude
is done.
beach.
This group is definitely, it's time for it to fold.
Yeah. And I understand, I do understand Drew being a little bit irritated because
100%.
when you're the DM and if you didn't do the thing that I do, which is not study for the test, and then they're relieved it's canceled. If you stayed up all night studying for the test and then there's no test, you may be kind of annoyed because you're like, well, why'd I waste my time on all that? Which is how you could feel about a D&D game. I spent a few hours prepping for this, and every time it's just doesn't matter. Right. That sucks.
Or even
so I
like
get
just
being annoyed.
Boiling it down to like take D&D out of the situation. He prepped his house for people to come over. Like he was like,
sure, yeah,
or he planned out his social battery. So it's like, okay, I'm not doing this, so I could do this with people to play D&D. So it's like, you got your life, your house, your whatever ready. Assuming he hosts, I'm assuming he does.
Sounds like it.
Then they're like, oh, last minute, sorry, we've been hanging you high and dry. We're not coming over. They're kind of douchebags for that.
I would have, my style of writing this letter would have been, I'd want to like make it their idea. That's the little trick. I'd be like, hey, I know you guys are really busy. Like, do you want to, are you still good to play D&D? Or maybe we should do a hiatus and come back to this at some point because you guys are busy. And then if they were like, no, we really love it, we really want to do it, then maybe that would kind of light a fire under them and make them commit more to it, hopefully. Or they would just be like, yeah, you're right, and maybe they'd be relieved because they've been waiting for the
right. They've been pushing right.
Maybe it's two people trying to be polite and not realizing they both want the same thing. Well,
so you mentioned taking a hiatus. Why not? Like if she's actively if she's this far along pregnant.
Right. Well,
there's going to be things that come up that's like, we need to go to a doctor's appointment more often. Or maybe like, I'm nauseous. I don't want to come and play D&D being sick or whatever.
Although, to be fair, when you have a newborn baby, a lot of times you have like a year where they're going to be asleep a lot and you could fit in some D&D games during those times. But yes, at some point, you're gonna be on maternity leave for D&D.
Right, because and it sounds like, this might have been a doctor's appointment that's like an important doctor's appointment that they're there and they don't know. But I also kind of call bullshit on the doctor's appointment too, because like I was saying before, it's not like an open-ended thing. It's not like, I can't even think of like an open-ended thing that's like, I don't know when this is going to end. I'm not sure when I'm going to leave. Like
the DMV.
Well, exactly. I have to go to the DMV. I could be there for 20 minutes. I could be there for the next week and a half. So it's like, a doctor's appointment is there's two ends to that bracket. Like it's closed. That you're leaving there probably no more than an hour.
You could be like tired after though, or something, or maybe they gave you some drugs or something.
Or you travel but that's different than just saying we're going to the doctors. At that point, say, we might not feel like there should be more information. There might have been that we're not getting. But there could have been more things. And it kind of sounds like I'm trying to play both sides because was Drew being like every 10 minutes, how's the doctor's appointment? What's going on at the doctor? Are you guys still coming? Because that could be annoying as well. But it's also annoying that they didn't hey, we're heading out of the doctor's office. Yes or no?
I'm sure from their perspective, they're like, we're doing important things. We can't, this is not our priority. And for Drew, it's a priority.
But then you kind of have to let them know that. Let them know hey, that's when I think the couple should bring up the hiatus.
Yeah, need to let the other side know stuff.
Right.
I think.
Because being pregnant and going to these doctor's appointments is a big life transition and big time commitment. So it's as Drew, I would kind of be like, hey, if you guys can't make it, let me know. knowing that this is probably not just a regular appointment. This is like it's a pregnancy appointment. So it's like, you don't know what information they might have gotten, what they have to do. Like pregnancy isn't just like going to get your flu shot. So it's like, well, in one way. Well, anyway. So, don't. So it's like, what? Huh?
What? No.
So like maybe you say
Huh?
take a hiatus for that. So
Yeah.
it's a weird way, but it's not your general thing. And do we know if this couple was this way before the pregnancy? Like, were they canceling often before this?
It sounds
Or-
like, yeah, I think this started pre-pregnancy, but recently, like in the last few years.
So it's been, a flip-flop kind of thing that this couple's kind of like, well, maybe there's something better to do, or we just don't want to do anything. Then at what point is it Drew's responsibility to, like, for his own sake, maybe I start another campaign with another group of people?
I'm seeing, by the way, we keep saying this 4-year number. 4 years ago is when Drew says they started with the cancellations. They've been playing D&D off and on again for several years now, he says. So longer than 4 years.
That's a long time.
I mean, yeah, it could be a long time. But again, this is, if you play D&D,
Right.
people, I shouldn't say most, but people who play D&D,
They
play
play
D&D.
Yeah.
And
I get it, though, but
yeah.
things come up. Life comes up. So you do have to calculate that into that, and it sounds like that's what's happening.
I think
But
that's
if
the
it was-
issue is, yeah, you need to, it's better to just say, hey, we can't do this anymore, than to say, oh, we'll keep doing it and then not do it.
Right.
Keep
And, like-
dangling the carrot and pulling it away.
And at what point is it Drew's? I mean, I don't like the way he wrote a letter, whatever. But like, at what point is it him to be like, hey, I'm not going to waste my time doing this if we don't do it as we should.
Well, we're here to judge Drew guilty or not guilty for potentially saying this to them.
Right. For writing this letter and being this upfront.
He actually, well, he says he's going to talk to them, so it sounds like he's actually planning to say it in person.
I imagine he's going to have a scroll. It has to be part of a D&D campaign.
He does it. That's the most passive aggressive in the campaign. You have a group that
It's an option.
is trying to play together and can't, and you just make them imitations of the real life people,
Yes.
and you're like, get the hint. See, notice how these characters are bad. They're bad. You have to fight them for what they're doing. That's
great.
the way everything should be settled.
They go to a doctor's office in the game. They have to. So, are they going or are they not going? You have to make this decision.
Oh my god,
The most passive aggressive D&D campaign.
this could be good. D&D therapy. I think this could be a new
Ooh.
thing. I mean, you do role playing in therapy. That's
Yeah. So a D&D therapy. Let's cut this out of the episode. This is going to be our
Boom.
new campaign.
If anyone's no, it's not a new campaign where you have to become licensed therapists and.
Well, no,
this
our
is
life
new-
campaign. This is our new life campaign.
Okay, yeah. So we need to decide if he's guilty or not. If this would be overstepping the boundaries or whatever. I don't know.
So what you said is what he's is going to or did say.
That's
to
what
this
he's thinking
people.
of saying. That's his plan in his head.
And we want to know if he's guilty or not guilty of going overboard in this letter.
Yeah. Again, it's not technically a letter,
Right.
but yes,
This
this
premeditative
thing he wants to say to them.
right. I'll go first.
Would this be out of line? Okay.
So I do think there are better ways that Drew could go around doing this, and it sounds like he's planning this in his head, and it's been fuming. He's stewing in this angry conversation that he has to have, and sometimes it's better to write the email and send it tomorrow and see how that comes out. It sounds like he's very upset because, hey, I get it. You can't, you try to make a campaign. You've been working on this story. Your group that you've known for between 4 and 40 years, cancels on you time and time again. And it's screwing with your life. But is there a better way that he can say this? Is there a better thing that they can do. Maybe Drew and his group need to mix things up. Okay, let's take a break from D&D and let's try playing another game. Maybe a legacy game, something that is like,
Sounds like another problem. If it's,
but
a
it could be
campaign-based game,
true.
same problem.
So let's just do a regular, like every week or every other week we'll meet up for a game night and we'll just do a different game. Maybe this group is bored of it and don't want to tell Drew, who's this is his baby, that we're bored of your campaign. We don't want to play this anymore. But from him thinking that, if I stop this campaign, it's going to potentially end our friendship, then try something else.
Which he did, to be fair, in his thing, he did. That's what he plans to say, is we could do game nights. So that is in there.
So that is the one part that I like, but I do think Drew is guilty of being too
ugly,
angry about this, and too, like, not working out a way to maybe change things up, or I just think he's guilty of going overboard with it, because you've been playing for 4+ years. Yes, that is maybe not a long time for D&D, but shit happens. A lot of times, if you're going from college into life, those are the years where, like, people move, lives happen, kids, marriages, relationships. So, like, you have to kind of, like, think about that when planning this kind of thing and not get overly upset. So I think, he's guilty.
Waiting to hear that gavel. I agree with a lot of what you say, but I think I'm approaching it from a different angle, or coming to a different conclusion from it. I agree that what he wrote as written and what he initially planned on saying is definitely too strong. Right. Definitely comes off as like, okay, buddy, relax. So I don't fully support the way that he wants to go about this. I think that, if the friendship is going to end or not end, if that's what it is, then that's what it is. But I think it's very reasonable to want to cancel this game. Clearly it's just not working out for whatever reason. I definitely think there's more blame on the other side for it's annoying, whether it's D&D or anything else. It's annoying to constantly last minute cancel. Just say if you can't do it for a while or something. The last minute thing is very irritating, especially when this is something that involves prep and planning beforehand. So I think both sides might be a little bit annoying, and I think maybe the way Drew wants to go about this isn't the best way to go about it, but for ultimately the feeling that he has of feeling abandoned or insulted or used or whatever, again, maybe like a little intense, but I get it. I don't think he's to blame for it. So I'm going to come down and say I don't think that he is fully guilty. I'm saying not guilty.
Which I do get both sides, because, like, like I even said, insert a dinner party where it's like, I need to cook this food at some point. I need to know if you're coming over my house. I need to, clean the house, get the house ready for you to come over, take D&D out of it. It's still just it is a dick move to cancel last minute. And it doesn't sound like these are emergencies. Yeah,
I mean, one other alternative is there are such a thing as one-shot RPGs. Even in D&D, you could do one-shot, single-session mini-games, and that's an option you could do. And just, that can be hard too, though, because then it's like, well, what do you have to? If you're playing different games, you have to make up new characters every week or something.
Well, I do feel like with the one-offs too, you need more hours of play.
Sometimes,
like D&D, you can. I mean, some of them are timed, but.
Some of them, a lot of the ones, you could play in 3 or 4 hours and just be done. So that's an option too. But I think the game night thing is a good solution. Just like, let's just play board games. Right. Maybe D&D is just not.
Or just come over and have like a hangout time. Like, like.
Boring.
Okay. Or we mentioned it before. Why not just try the online?
That is an option too. You could just try that. You could try it. Well, we need to punish both parties here, as this is a mistrial. So you will be sentencing out a punishment for Drew. I will be sentencing a punishment for the couple in question, the unnamed couple.
The unnamed couple that we don't know who they're. So Drew, I think, has to, assuming they're playing 5th edition of D&D, which I'm assuming most people are, he has to forget all of that, wipe his mind of 5th edition. He's got to go back to 2nd edition. He's got to go back to OG weird D&D and learn that and try to get a 4-year campaign going for 2nd edition D&D and see how much he enjoys that.
So he just is prepping it, and then he has to try to get the same group to play with him, or what's exactly the punishment here? He has to learn the rules in and out or something. Okay, sure. The other couple, let's see. I would have to say my first instinct is you lose the baby.
Right. Don't need to roll for that.
When the baby is born, give it up for adoption.
Right.
You don't get that baby anymore.
No, because game night is more important than family.
Maybe that's a little harsh, though. Maybe they roll a die. Roll depending on how good you roll. Is how many days a week you can see your child.
Right.
Or maybe you have to roll from a table of names and you got to name them something stupid.
You have to make the name out of the monster manual. That's how you have to figure out a.
That's right. I mean, the obvious walk a mile in my shoes punishment is they have to plan a campaign, but they never get to play it. They have to, every week they must come up with new material for a campaign, and no one will ever show up to play with them.
Some would say, right now they are planning the hardest campaign there is.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would say that. No. Anyway, pick
Stupid.
one of those. Those are our handouts for the folks. You can let us know at home if you're watching or listening to this. If you're not, I don't know where you are. You're not hearing this, I guess.
Weird.
Let us know what you think about our verdicts. How would you decide this case? Which team do you land on? Are you in favor of continuing the games? Do you think it's too much? Email us, geeksontrial@gmail.com, or comment if you're watching on YouTube or wherever else. You can also go there to submit your own geeky case. That's geeksontrial@gmail.com. Let us know what's going on in your life, whether it have to do with a role-playing game, a board game, a video game, some other geeky subculture. We'll settle it on the air for you right here. We also have a form for that.
It's true. We do.
Yeah.
And if you want to help us support the show and make the show go on and give us more energy to do this and a reason for life and living and like, comment, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share the episodes with your friend. Keep watching, subscribe on the podcast so it automatically downloads into your thing. Hit the bell so you're reminded that there are new episodes. And also head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/geeksontrial. $5 a month is all we're asking for. Help us do our jobs and get rewarded for it, because shouldn't we get a little reward?
Don't we deserve some experience points for all this?
Shouldn't Pop get a reward?
Every time we talk about D&D, it makes me want to play D&D, but then I remember how annoying it is to get together and make it happen.
Well, when you're not annoyed and wanting to play D&D, where else can people find you?
There is the new edition. Maybe we should play that. The new update to the edition. You can find me online. Check out my website, jonathanestes.com, for all the stuff that I do. I'm trying to commit to writing more newsletters. So you can go there to sign up for my newsletter. I think I'm going to write something about, I'm going to go into some more depth about all those Disney World attraction announcements that we teased at the start of the show. So if you want to hear more of my detailed thoughts on stuff like that, other movies and things, sign up for our newsletter over at jonathanestes.com. How about you, buddy?
I'm not going to write anything. I don't write things. I make videos. I do all that. I am relaunching an old YouTube channel that I have. It's called Destination Relax. It is a YouTube channel of all the content and footage and nature-y stuff that I go out and film and edit together and piece together. It's a nice, relaxing place when you just want to step away and maybe meditate, just see the outdoors. Maybe when you're in an office and you're not near a window, put this on. You can see the outdoors from anywhere. I have some great drone footage, some great snow footage, waterfalls, all that. And that's youtube.com/@Destination Relax, or just go to ivanhan.com for all that and more. And hey,
Any bean footage on there?
bean footage?
Yeah,
You mean,
like beautiful
you mean to roll
bean
that
footage.
beautiful bean footage?
I would
You know,
like you to.
that is a thing that we often will just say in our daily
Yeah.
lives. Roll
Well,
that
sure, it
beautiful
comes
bean
up
footage.
a lot.
Comes up
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah. Hey, until next time, I'm Ivan Hahn.
I'm Jonathan Estes, and roll that beautiful bean footage.